Hi there, my name is Austin Lent, and I'm here with MCAT Mastery today to talk a little bit about my MCAT experience and share some tips that I learned along the way. So originally, I was planning to take the MCAT in the spring of my junior year, sometime between January and March, like many other traditional pre-med students. But during my sophomore year, I went home for spring break, and due to the COVID-19 pandemic, never went back that semester like many other students. So this caused me to really change my perspective on how I was going to approach the MCAT. And I decided that because I was going to be home until the middle of August, that I should just take this time and really focus on MCAT studying. And so I moved my schedule up 6 months to take the MCAT on August 20th. So the first lesson I really learned from that is flexibility. So for me, obviously this was on a very large scale, changing my MCAT date by half a year and scooting everything up that time. But even on the day-to-day, when you make a schedule, you really need to have flexibility, because you might be someone who really likes to plan out every single little thing you want to do on each day or each week, whether it's another number of chapters to read or passages to do or practice problems, whatever it is. Some days that might happen and some days it might not. Things take longer than you might expect. Family emergencies might happen, or just life in general will happen. So flexibility is really important in knowing that some days you'll meet your goals, some days you might not. But as long as you kind of accept that kind of variability and move on to the next day with a fresh mindset. So for me, I began studying the end of May in 2020. I also at this time was taking both physics 1 and 2 online during the summer. Each one was 6 weeks with lab. So that was a little bit intense. There's a lot of, online work for that, doing the homework and doing lab reports and quizzes. And I'd never taken physics before. This was my first experience, and a good portion of the MCAT includes physics. So I knew that this was going to be really important, but also the time management aspect, because I did have a lot going on with that. So the extra challenge was being at home with, especially my entire family home, working remotely, was being diligent in my studying and making sure that I was really focused on what I needed to do, and that I was able to say no to my family. Obviously for certain things, you have family responsibilities you can't necessarily say no to, but if just to watch a show or something like that, I needed to kind of set my boundaries and just go to my room and study when I needed to. My initial score was a 504 on my first diagnostic, which I was pretty proud of. I was pretty confident in the content at the beginning, besides physics, which I hadn't learned yet. And I saw pretty steady growth over the next few weeks. And eventually I kind of hit a plateau around 512, 513, where I didn't really see my score improving, even though, I was still learning physics and doing all the reviews and everything. And I was kind of frustrated because I didn't see the growth that I had wanted to or I had expected. And I kind of took a step back. And what was really pivotal for me here was doing why I got this wrong charts, which I got mine from the Kaplan books, but I'm sure, there's a million online. And just making sure for me that I would go through every practice test or questions that I got wrong and seeing why I got that wrong and what the fault was. Was it just not knowing the content at all? Was it something where I didn't read the question, or I didn't fully go back to the passage, something like that? And the real improvement I got from this was kind of figuring out what a question is really asking and being able to eliminate easy answer choices and kind of get it down to maybe 3 or 2 answer choices, which I found was really helpful because I didn't know every single thing on the MCAT. I didn't know, 100% of the content. No one is ever going to know that. But by getting it down to 50-50, I was able to use more of an educated guess to get the right answer. And then if I got it wrong, I would again analyze, why did I get that wrong for the future? And this really helped me and kind of boosted me up into the 518, which is what I got on my real MCAT that I took in August. So this journey obviously was super difficult, but the overall most important thing that I learned was the importance of focusing on my mental health, because I don't think many pre-med students really take into account what that's like studying for the MCAT, how it is a really gruesome process. There's just some days where you don't want to keep going, but you got to. And I've seen this when I've been working with some of my mentees here with MCAT Mastery, that some students might treat this like a full-time job where they work or study 8 hours a day, which sounds really great at face value. Like, wow, they're really dedicated, they're spending a lot of time. But this one student who was doing that did not see the improvement that they wanted, and they were really frustrated because they were spending so much time and they couldn't break, the 500s. And so I asked them, do you think this studying is really helping? Like, do you see the improvement? And they said, honestly, no. And that was a really big understanding to have, that more studying is not always better. Sometimes it actually can be harmful because you really get burned out and bogged down and you're not learning the best, you're not putting your best effort forth. So in a sense, it might even be wasting your time. So that really ties into focusing on your mental health, on, you need to do the most you can, but you can't just do more because you want to. Everybody's got to set their limit, and that's different for everyone. And in addition to that, there's, the focus on doing things you still enjoy while studying for the MCAT. It's important, like I said, to be diligent and make sure you get your MCAT studying time in, however you organize that. But it's also important to still do things you enjoy, do things that relieve stress, whether it's something social or physical activity, some kind of mindfulness, whatever that is. That's really important to really make sure that you're putting forth your best effort. So with that in mind, hope you really enjoyed hearing my journey and some of the tips and tricks. And if so, I definitely encourage you to check the link below for the free MCAT Mastery guide, as well as if you want to hear more from me and my fellow mentors at MCAT Mastery, you can check the link below to learn how to get involved with us. So thank you for your time. And I know that taking the MCAT is a difficult process, but with the right mindset and strategies, you can set yourself up for success.